Moving on to your next topic, you have your benefits of directing. Now, what are the benefits of directing? Direction is called management in action. Okay, when you're stimulating action on the part of subordinates by issuing instruction and supervising their works. Okay, it guides supervisors to do proper methods of work. It provides necessary leadership. Okay, it motivates the subordinates. It helps to secure the wholehearted cooperation. It integrates the efforts of different personnel towards the accomplishment. Okay, it also helps the management to introduce healthy changes in the organization. So basically, these are the benefits of directing when you are what are the continuously showing how you need to achieve the objective and how you're continuously directing the organization. Next, you have your principles of direction, that is harmony objective. Harmony objective is nothing but how you're going to satisfy your psychological needs and how you're going to satisfy your psychological needs. Okay, how you're going to satisfy employee psychological needs and how you're going to align your personal goals of the employee along with the organizational goals and objectives. Next is your maximum individual or contribution, that is how you're going to maximize your individual contribution continuously by showing them how you need to go and achieve the organization, continuously directing them to achieve the organization. Unity of command, that is how you're taking into consideration how there is going to be one particular supervisor or the superior and he is going to continuously give directions in order to achieve the objective, and also to avoid any sorts of confusion and also avoid any sorts of indiscipline in the organization. Appropriate techniques, as to how you're going to use various effective techniques in order to enhance your direction and also to achieve the select a superior subordinate relationship in order to achieve your organizational objective. Then next is direct supervision. Direct supervision is how you're going to supervise each and every activity and how you're going to make sure that each and every employee is doing the right kind of work and they are working towards the achievement of objective. Next is strategic use of informal organization. Strategic use of informal organization is whether how you're going to balance between your formal and informal relationship in order to get your things done. Managerial communication, as to how you're going to move in a hierarchical way and how you're going to manage your superior and your subordinate relationship in order to achieve your organization objective, and how you're going to move in an upward communication, as I told you all, whether it is downward or your upward communication. Okay, next is your comprehensions. Comprehension is nothing but how you're going to give orders and instruction, whether it is sufficient or insufficient, and how you're going to do your various queries and explanations. Next is you will have your effective leadership, as to how you are going to take into consideration your various how you're going to take into consideration the rules, opinions, objectives of various employees, and based on that you're going to issue directions, and based on that you're going to align your personal goals objective and your organizational goals objective, and how you're going to be an effective leader by taking into consideration the trust of the subordinates. Okay, trust and confidence of the subordinates. Next is principle of follow through. Principle of follow through is basically how you're continuously following up with the instructions and the directions which are issued, whatever the orders which are issued by the top management, how you're going to continuously follow up with those orders in order to achieve your objectives. Okay, next is you have your techniques of directing. Techniques of directing is firstly is your communication. Your communication is in a formal process, that is how you are, this is the process of communication, very important. The process of communication, that is a sender, there is a particular person who is sending the information, transmitting of information to another person who is known as the receiver. Okay, sender and receiver. Okay, how you're going to receive the information and how you're going to convey the particular information, that is the process of communication. Okay, that is, see, firstly you will have communication, supervision, motivation and leadership. Firstly, you're communicating the necessary information, wherein the particular sender is sending the necessary details and information through a particular mode of channel to the receiver. The receiver is receiving the information, encoding and understanding the information. Next is your supervision. Supervision is nothing but as we all looked into from the earlier topics, how you're going to supervise the work of each and every employee, whether they're particularly putting all their heart and soul in order to do the particular work, whether how you effectively they're coordinating. Okay, how you are going to make sure they're performing the job, whether they are continuously guiding them, how you're going to broaden their horizon from the day-to-day work, create a different work for subordinates, and how you're going to see each and every employee will continuously do mistakes, right? How you're going to detect the errors and how you're going to correct the employees. Okay, how you're going to supervise and correct the employees in order to correct those mistakes so that they easily achieve the organization objective. Then motivation. Motivation is each and every employee, if you want the employee to work effectively and achieve the organization goals effectively, you need to continuously motivate the employees in order to get the expected result. Okay, it's called as motivation. Next is leadership. Leadership should be in such a way wherein you're instilling confidence amongst people, wherein you're taking the people along with you, continuously inspiring those people in order to achieve the pursuit of that particular goals. Okay, next you have coordinating. Coordinating again is how we've looked into various topics earlier. Okay, after your coordination is basically, it is a synchronization and efforts of whatever planning, coordination, you're coordinating each and every activity. Next you have your needs of coordination. Needs of coordination is basically, it is an important function which is wherein the primary task is to, okay, after which it is a binding force for all the functions of management. It makes members of the organization to view the work from the work point of the enterprise of the organization, that is unity of direction. Okay, we've been already discussing this particular topic. I'm not going in depth or brief of the explanation because by now you know what is coordinating and what is coordination. Okay, now by which the management can coordination is through which you can avoid conflicts, duplication of work can be avoided. Okay, it can be helped with the performance of coordination. Group efforts can result much greater sum total. It helps in bringing economy and efficiency. Smooth working of organization and its survival depends on sound coordination. Okay. Next is you have your importance of coordination. Now, importance of coordination is coordination encourages team spirit. Coordination gives proper direction, facilitates motivation, optimum utilization of resources. I am not going in depth of these particular topics because I've already explained these particular topics in your previous chapters. Okay, then coordination helps you in achieving objectives quickly. And also by now it is very self-explanatory for you all to understand as to why I'm not why I'm just reading out the points for you. Coordination improves relation in the organization. It leads to higher efficiency and improves goodwill of the organization. Okay, now next, according to management also is important. Now it is completely your choice as to whether you want to write this or write this. Okay, at times in the exam you can be asked as per the management also, and you can refer to these particular points. Next is you have your features of coordination. Features of coordination is basically, it is a distinct function wherein you are inheriting a managerial job. Coordination is also responsible for your achieved through managerial function. No manager can evade the responsibility. Okay, it does not arise spontaneously, and coordination is basically, you have your unity there. It is a continuously ongoing process and also a dynamic process, continuously changing. Because of the continuous changes, you need to have coordination in your organization. Coordination is basically, it is a group effort and not an individual effort, and is responsibility for each and every manager, and also helps in achieving your organizational goals and objective. These were the features of coordination. Next you have your functions of coordination. Now again, these points only where it is necessary I will be explaining it to you. Coordination through planning. Okay, how you're going to go stepwise manner. Organizing is how you're going to plan and then organize various activities. Staffing, again, the right person for the right job, that is the right education and skills. Okay, coordination to directing. Once you've planned, organized and staffed the person, how you're going to give directions and how you're going to give orders in order to achieve the organization objective. Then controlling, how you're going to control them with various rules and regulations in the particular organization. Next you have your aims of aims of coordination. Aims of coordination is efficiency and effectiveness. Okay, how you're going to coordinate in order to enhance their efficiency and effectiveness in order to do good work and achieve the organization objective through synergy. Okay, unity of direction. Unity of direction is basically how you're continuously giving them direction and guidance. Human relation, how you're going to maintain good relations in the organization wherein you're generating a sense of satisfaction and job security amongst people. Then coincidence and management is nothing but how it is an inclusive concept of result management process. These were the aims of coordination. Next, you have your principles of coordination. In your principles of coordination, you have your direct personal contact, that is employee and the manager will come in direct contact, that is face-to-face communication will be there. Early beginning, that is before everything is even started, you will start coordinating with each other even before planning, so that you're able to easily cope up with the objectives and ideas. Next is reciprocation is basically how effectively you can coordinate and how you can influence one person with the other person in order to get the job done. Continuation, again, it is a dynamic process which is a continuous process and it cannot be stopped with one particular activity. Now you have your various techniques of coordination. For coordination, you require sound planning, you require simplified organization, you require effective communication, effective leadership and supervision, chain of command, okay, introduction and incentives. Incentives, again, your rewards, motivation, and your bonuses you have to give. Okay, license departments, that is nothing but you need to ensure that in certain cases the coordinator will act as a liaison between the top management and the low level management. Okay, then the general staff, voluntary coordination, okay, how you're going to coordinate for a voluntary purpose and for a general purpose. Next you have your then on the next topic, that is called as control. Now what is control? Control is nothing but one of the, again, most important functions, wherein you once you're coordinating, you need to take necessary control between your, which is acting as a link between planning and controlling. That is how effectively you need to make necessary control in the organization. Now, according to the definition, management control seeks to compel events and control to plans. Okay. Now, what is the nature of control? Control is nothing but how you're taking control of the various activities in order to achieve the objective goals and organization goals and objective. Now, your nature of control is nothing but efficient control is required to be exercised to the process of management to get better results and achieve organization's objective. Okay, now you can get control by setting of standards. Okay, it is also taking controlling measures to employees' forced behavior. Every manager working in their organization as to what position he is employed in and how you can take necessary action. Okay, next is how, like, planning and controlling, how it is controlling is also a continuous process. Now, in controlling also, how the manager needs to check continuously deviations, whether how the employees are working in the organization and how they are deviating or whether they are not deviating, continuously give them directions. In a duty, how they are going to carry out their authorities and their responsibilities. Also, it is very clear that the manager can do very little about the past but can take necessary actions for the future. These were the natures of control. Okay, controlling. Now, what is the need for controlling? Need for controlling is to create better quality. Quality is basically if you take control of the employees, they will be able to work properly and they will be scared of that particular position also, and they will want to achieve the organization objectives. To cope up with the changes, that is continuously give them training and development, to continuously give them directions as to how they need to use new technologies and how they continuously needs to cope up with changes by taking necessary control. Okay, then you have to create faster cycles. Create faster cycles is nothing but how you're going to set a particular standard and how you're going to achieve your standard with the actual performance. To add value, how you're going to add value to the existing job by actually taking into consideration your continuously changing technology and how you're going to cope up with your competitors. Next, to facilitate delegation and teamwork, how you're going to delegate authority to various people and how you're going to take control of your entire team and how you're going to control how you're going to coordinate amongst your team members. After which you have your importance of controlling. Importance of controlling is it helps in actually guiding the actual performance, contributes to the overall performance, smoothens the working, maintain law, order and discipline, morale of the employees, success of plans, decision making, future corrective actions, effective supervision, decentralization, coordination. Okay, these are the importance of controlling. I've already explained these topics to you in your previous topics. Next, you have your relationship between planning and controlling. In your planning and controlling, planning originates from controlling. Okay, planning, first step in any management activity is your planning, after which you are coming up with controlling, that is how you're going to set up goals, control process, etc. Next is control sustains planning, is basically control whatever planning you have done. When you take necessary controlling, you are going to sustain that particular planning, that is by giving continuous directions to achieve the objectives. Controlling provides information for planning. Basically, when you are continuously controlling, you are also planning also is a activity which is going on a continuous basis. It does not stop at one particular point. Okay, planning and control are interrelated with each other. Both are forward looking. Okay, they do not look into the past, they look only into the future. Next, you have your process of control, that is you have your establishing standard. Okay, you need to establish standard, measure performance, determine whether standard matches the performance and take corrective action. Now, in your establishing standard, establishing standard is basically, for example, if in your test you have to score 10, it is a 10 mark test and your minimum percentage to score is 8. Okay, this is a standard which is set and you're matching your actual performance of the employees along with the standard of the set. So this standards must be clearly specified. They must be understood by all organizational members. They should be defined in the measurable terms. Vague working standards must be avoided. Vague standards should be avoided. A particular standard should be set. Okay, now these are the various standards which are being set. for performance, that is the time standard, in what time they have to perform that particular task and what time they have to achieve it. Cost is basically what is the amount of cost which is involved and how much cost they need to control and cut down. Income, what is the necessary income that is generated out of the particular standard. Market share, as to what market share that they are able to achieve, of how greater share they are able to achieve. The next is quality standards. What is the necessary quality they require in order to achieve the particular objective, and how they need to work as per the particular quality. Okay, how they are effectively, productivity is how effectively they are going to produce their employees skills and training, and how well they are going to use their manpower. Okay, return on investment is how whatever investment is done, how they are going to generate a return on those particular investment. And you also have your quantitative personal standards as to whether how effectively they are going to take into consideration your employee turnover, your grievances, and how they are going to address all of these. Performance comes under your establishment of standards, and this is one such example which I gave you all. Next is measuring performance. Your measuring performance is nothing but you're measuring your performance on basis of effort of the employee, on the effectiveness, whether the actually whether whatever employee is working is effective or not, based on the employee's efficiency, based on whatever process, that is how he is going to convert his particular evaluation process into result. Measuring devices, how you're going to match the actual performance with the standard performance which is set. Then mechanized measuring devices, and some of the measuring devices are as follows, that is measurized mechanic devices. Ratio analysis, that is in the form of ratios, how you are going to allocate, and whether to check your liquidity, profitability, solvency. You will look into your further topics. Okay, comparative statistical objective, these are the techniques which you are using in order to measure your performances. These are the devices, or it could also be your techniques to measure performances. It could also be your personal observation and your sampling methods to achieve the particular objectives or performances. After which you will have your determining whether the performance matches with the standard. Once you take the consideration of the employee, how you're going to match the actual performance of the employee with the standard performance. Taking corrective action, suppose if the employee's performance is low, if the employee is not matching the actual performance with the standard performance, then how you're going to give him training and development, how you're going to enhance your staff by training and development and various action, that is by taking corrective actions, continuously follow up with the employees. Next, you have your principle or requirements of effective control, that is wherein you're reflecting on the organizational needs. What are the needs of the organization? Promptness in your reporting deviations, whether from time to time you have to continuously take employees' performance, and how you're going to see whether there are any changes or the deviations or not. Forward looking controls, where continuously looking forward, and how you're going to control your cash, how you're going to enhance your profitability position of the organization. Objective control is nothing but control should be objective, and it should be continuously in and you need to have your actual performance with the measured performance. Flexible control, it should be very flexible enough in order to make necessary changes. It should be simple, wherein it is easily understood by each and every manager as well. Correction action, whether if it is required in any correction or anything as such, wherein you are able to take necessary actions in order to make necessary corrections. Okay, acceptable to organizational members, your control should be acceptable by each and every employee. Suppose you cannot force control on them, you need to make sure each and every employee is satisfied and is cooperative with those controls. Reveal exceptions as strategic plans is nothing but you need to reveal exceptions at strategic points. You will have various strategic points, and you will have various postage stamps at which you will have to reveal these particular actions. It is what the manager's attention should be focused on. Okay, then motivate people to high performance, wherein you are motivating people to do more and in order to achieve the higher performance standards. Okay, so these were your principle for effectiveness of control. Next, you have your types of control. You have your pre-control, concurrent control, post-feedback control. Now, why I'm not going in depth is basically because I've explained everything about control, coordinating, etc. in your previous topics. Now, what is pre-control? Pre-control is nothing but the control which takes place before the work is performed, is also known as feed-forward control. Now, before anything is happening, okay, what is your pre-control? That is focus on human. What is the resources that you're going to bring? What is the material required? What is the financial resources? These are all taken into consideration in your planning process. Okay, before you are actually going to set your objective, before that whatever you're doing is known as your pre-control. Okay, for example, organizations attempt to improve the likelihood that the employees will perform up to standards and identifying necessary job skills, and by using tests and other screening devices in order to hire those particular people. Okay, these are the pre-control before you actually go in with the control. Whatever you're doing beforehand is known as pre-control. Concurrent is in the particular present situation. Okay, how you're going to bring about your rules and regulations, how you're going to guide your employees. Okay, how you're going to guide your employees, how you're going to monitor your employees. Okay, what is the standard, how you're going to measure your standard performance with your actual performance, everything. This is your concurrent control. Post per feedback control is nothing but once everything is done, in order to achieve your objective, you will get necessary feedback. You will give necessary feedback to people as to how they have to improve and how they have to go about achieving the objectives or performances. Next, you have your techniques of control. Techniques of control, you have your budgetary control. Okay, under your budgetary control is basically it is all to do with your budget, as to how you need to maintain your budgets of the organization. That is preparation of budget. Okay, which is continuously depending on how you're going to plan your budget and how you're going to implement, wherein you are going to minimize your cost and maximize your profit. Okay, how you're going to plan your budget in order to carry out your day-to-day operations. You have your various characteristics as well. Budget should be result oriented. It should be realistic. That means it should be in a situation wherein you can actually implement it. Okay, it should periodic evaluation should be done. Establish goals, duties and responsibilities for operation should be assigned. Fair objectives should be there, and communication should be effective. Next, you have your advantages. What are the advantages? It should have a budgeted figure for a particular year. What is the budget figure you need to set? That is period set for a time. Okay, what are the inputs, and what are the inputs that are required in that particular budget? You want to purchase material, raw material, capital. Okay, how you're going to bring about profits from that particular budget. Budgeting is also used for coordinating various activities between departments as to how much amount is required by various departments in order to carry out various activities. Okay. It is also effective control device. It facilitates management exception because it helps in attracting efficient and efforts of the managers. Okay, it helps you in carrying out various operations. It does not lead to stoppage of operations. And then budgets are important instruments for planning and control. After which, you have your types of budget. Types of budget, you have your cash budget, you have your capital budget, you have your sales, selling and distribution, production and labor budget. You have your raw material, you have your production overhead, and you have your master budget. Your cash budget is nothing but how you're going to make your cash receipts and payments. Capital budget is how you're going to maintain your particular capital of the organization and how you're going to meet your requirements. Sales budget is basically how you're going to coordinate with your advertising activities, your marketing activities in terms of your quality, values, etc. Selling and distribution is how you're going to take into consideration your storage, your insurance, your packing. Okay, how you're going to distribute all of your products to the customers. Production is how you're going to produce your product or your service. Labor is how you're going to maintain your labor and how you're going to distribute the amounts to your labor. Raw material is how you're going to allocate your raw material and how you're going to use the raw material. Production overhead, and you have your master budget, how in case of various necessary changes in the organization. Then you have your non-budgetary control techniques. Non-budgetary control techniques are your cost control. Okay, cost control, in that you have your cost accounting, how you're going to manage your profits of a particular business, your cost sheet, your profits and losses, etc. Standard costing is basically how you're going to divide on your various components of labor, overhead, administration and selling. Okay, this you will look into your second semester when you're studying your cost accounting. Then you have your break-even analysis, how you're going to make sure that you're going to break your total cost into your profit and losses. Okay, after which you have your managerial statistics. Managerial statistics is basically you are going to take into consideration your production figures, your management productivity and sales volume. Then you have your internal audit, wherein you're bringing an auditor in order to check your balance sheet and your profit and loss accounts and take suggestions from them in order to, if you have to improve your performance of the organization. You have your production control, whether how you have to bring in your raw material, how you need to stock, how you need to use your various resources. External audit control again is like internal audit. Standing orders or limitations. Standing orders, wherein you're giving orders for your subordinates. You have your inventory control, how you're going to manage your inventory. Reports, how you're going to prepare a hard report in order to regarding your balance sheet, your cash flow statements, etc. Then you have your special reports also. Then you have your PERT and CPM. PERT is nothing but how you're going to perform program evaluation, how you're going to evaluate your performance, and critical path method, which particular path you are going to use in order to achieve your goals and objectives and to maintain your inventory and your and to achieve your profits. Next, you have your quality control. How you're going to effectively improve your quality of the product in order to satisfy the customer, and you need to minimize your waste, and how effectively you're going to minimize your cost. Then in your information control, you have your MIS, very important, management information system, wherein you're going to store your necessary data for taking necessary decisions. Now you also have limitations of controlling. It is an expensive process because it involves a lot of time and effort, and loses effectiveness. Okay, insignificant because you cannot fix accountability. Success depends completely on the acceptance of subordinate, and they have to take control of the internal factors. So with this particular topic, we come to an end of your second chapter, that is managerial functions. Okay, these are the necessary questions that you will have to refer to for your exams. And next we will be starting off with your third chapter, that is human resource management. Thank you for watching.